Good morning. Welcome to the Knit Shift episode 28. Today is Thursday, October 8th, 2015, and I am your host, Laura. Welcome to the Knit Shift. If you're new here, thank you for spending a little bit of your time with me. This is a knitting podcast where I talk about yarn and whatever I've been up to in the knitting world. And if you're coming back, thank you very much for spending some of your time with me today. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys are well. I hope it's been a good week for you. You can see I didn't wash away in any hurricane, unlike last week. It's really good. I recorded a day early last week, by the way, because by Thursday morning I was a zombie. The Hurricane Joaquin had looked as of Wednesday as if it was heading toward us. So we kind of shifted into overdrive where I work. I work at a news organization, and I'm responsible for planning and executing the print paper, basically. So I had a lot to do. So my days after the podcast started with emails between 6 and 8 in the morning, and I was at work until 9, 10 o'clock at night. It was a really long week, and I'm actually taking off work tomorrow, Friday, as kind of an equivalent for all the extra time I worked. I don't get overtime. I'm a manager these days, so I'm taking off tomorrow as a recuperation day because I still don't think I'm recovered from the storm. So anyway, even though the hurricane left, a lot of my friends would message me and say, so you're safe because the hurricane's offshore, right? Well, that we were, except we had been hit with a lot of rain and tidal flooding 2 weekends ago, the weekend before Joaquin. And I live in Norfolk, Virginia, where it's very close to sea level or below sea level. And so 2 weeks ago, we had a full moon, we had a super moon, and we had had a lot of rain and wind. So we had had high tides for a while. And then last week, we had some more rain. We just had this weather pattern that just dumped some rain on us. And then by Friday, we knew the hurricane wasn't hitting us, but we still had tremendous tidal flooding. And a lot of areas that normally get some creep from the tides were just inundated. So we had all hands on deck at the paper, and it was a really busy weekend. And I was able to take off work my regular weekend, Sunday, Monday, which was great. But I'm really so it's only a 3-day work week for me right now. I work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I'm very looking forward to a 4-day weekend. I took off work Friday, like I just said, for recuperation time. And I was already planning to be off Saturday for a wedding before my regular weekend of Sunday, Monday. So I haven't had a long weekend in a really long time. I feel like I'm overdue for this. So anyway, let me mute my phone. Just something went off. So yes, I survived the hurricane, but I did not go up to Montpelier for the Fall Fiber Festival, which I had spoken with some of you about. They canceled the festival. I don't know what day, maybe Thursday or Friday, but even if it had been going on, I don't think I would have driven up there with all the rain, and the roads were closed around here with the flooding. It was just kind of a mess, and I didn't want to leave the area during all of that. I wanted to stay put. So no Fall Fiber Festival for me, which is a bummer. I know the vendors probably really like those, they make a lot of money. They do well. They do good business at those events. So unfortunately, it was canceled, but that just means when I go to SAF at the end of the month, I will really relish the opportunity to spend all of the monies on yarns. So we'll see. But anyway, this episode, I have a finished object to show you. I have a new cast on, kind of a new cast on. You saw the very beginning of it last week. And I have a new toy to share with you guys. So let's get to it. First up, I will show you my finished object, which are on the floor next to me here. And by the way, I am joined by Gracie. She's right here, sleeping as always. This has become her favorite spot when I make a podcast. Let me kind of see if I can. There she is, Sleeping Beauty. She's got to get in those 20 hours a day, So this is my finished object. This is a Crazy Zauberball pair of socks. I don't know the colorway, unfortunately, but you can see it is magenta, hot pink, purple, really, really fun. And I've woven in the ends on these socks, but I have not yet I've not yet washed and blocked them, but I wanted to put them on the blockers to show you. I always like to see socks on blockers when I watch podcasts, so try and do the same for you guys. There's some, dog hair. It's everywhere. So these are my normal toe-up recipe. I knit these one at a time. I cast on 32 stitches on a size US 1.5, which is a 2.5 millimeter. And I cast on 16 and 16 with Judy's Magic Cast On, and then I increased every round until I had 48 stitches total, and then I increased every third round until I got to 68 stitches. So then I carried on up the foot, and then I did a fish lips kiss heel. I think every time I say that, fish lips kiss heel, I stutter because it is a tongue twister of a name. And after the fish lips kiss heel, I keep on going up the leg, and I think I did about 65 or 70 rounds of stockinette on the leg before I switched to 2x2 ribbing. I try and make what's between the toe and the heel flap approximately the same or longer on the leg of the sock if possible. And I don't have the leftover with me, but I had about 15 grams left over, so I think these took about 90 grams of the sock yarn. But I really like Zauberball. I think last week's episode I showed you guys some more Zauberball that I had purchased, so I think I'll be casting those on very soon. So I'm very pleased with these. These are not my normal colors of socks for myself, but I'm going to really enjoy wearing these. So there you have my FO. And that brings me to my knits in progress. I have a pair of socks on the needles that I showed you guys last week. It was the very, very beginning of these socks. And I now have 4 inches maybe. Last week, I was literally like 3 rows into it. And I decided to knit these as a 2x2 rib. And you can see that here. This is Miss Babs Yummy 2-ply, 400 yards of 100% merino. So since there's no nylon, I wanted to make sure I knit these at a really good gauge, a really tight gauge, so that they wouldn't wear as easily. So I'm knitting these on a US 1, which I believe is a 2.25 millimeter. So this is smaller. US 1 is a little smaller. 1.5 has been where I've been ending up lately on my socks, but I'm thinking that 1 might be where I need to go to get a really good gauge. So these look really small. In fact, I got my hair cut Tuesday, and I was knitting while I waited for my stylist to be ready, and another stylist came up to me and was real curious about what I was making, and she said, "Oh, are those for a child?" And I said, "No, they're for me," but I showed her just how darn stretchy the ribbing really is. I have a pair of ribbed socks that I knit. I think it was spring 2010, because I remember when I knit them because I was visiting a friend in Washington, D.C., and she was pregnant with her son that she had gave birth to in August 2010, I think. I think he's going to be 5 this year. Or he was 5 this year. So I think that my socks that I knit at a really tight gauge for 2x2 ribbing, they look pristine, like I've barely ever worn them. So I'm hoping, I believe those were 100% merino too. I knit them on like a size 1. So I'm very hopeful that these will wear very well. And like I said, this is Miss Babs, and the colorway is Perfectly Reckless, which is just gorgeous. I'm so pleased with how this side gives you a little bit of a better view of the yarn. Kind of matches my dress, I suppose. But there's greens and kind of a mucky gold and fuchsias and burgundies and grays, really dark green, medium green, silver. I'll just hold it really close so you guys can see. A little bit of orange. Oh, and here's the cake. It's always nice to see the cake, right? Just gorgeous yarn. I really love her stuff, and pardon me, Miss Babs will be at SAF in North Carolina at the end of the month, and you best believe my friends and I are going to be there to buy some Miss Babs. I didn't do it at Sheep and Wool. In fact, this came from Fiberspace in Alexandria, Northern Virginia. I've never stood in line at I got Miss Bab's sock yarn a good 5-6 years ago at Maryland Sheep and Wool, back before it was super crazy. It was just moderately crazy to go to her booth. It was crowded, I remember, but I got a skein of sock yarn, and I remember talking to Miss Babs, and she was very nice, but now it's totally crazy at her booth. So it's funny how those things go. So yes, these are my Perfectly Reckless socks, and yeah, I'm really enjoying these. These have been knitting up. I've been finding a little time here and there, and I'm happy with my progress in a week. So there is that. And I have one more work in progress to show you. It's been a few weeks since I showed you this project. Where did you go? Here's the ball of yarn. My podcast setup is a little bit wonky today, which I'll tell you about later. But here is my sock head hat, which I'm knitting out of Nomadic Yarns, her Twisty Sport base. Let me look at my phone here at my notes. Twisty Sport, it's 80/20 merino nylon, 328 yards, and it's a 10-stripe repeat. It's the colorway When You Play the Game of Thrones. I'm knitting this on a US 3, and this is a free pattern, the sock head hat. It's by Kelly McClure, and it's a basic 2x2 ribbing. You knit for, I think she calls for 4 or 5 inches. I did about 4, and then you knit stockinette for quite some time. It calls for making a really slouchy hat, but I think I'm going to make this more like a traditional, like, toboggan winter hat. So let me fold up the brim here for you guys so you can see it. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna knit a few more inches and then do the crown decreases and just have a nice cozy striped winter hat. And I believe this stitch marker, or this progress keeper, is at the last point when I showed you guys this. So I've made a good bit of progress, and that's because I went to see a movie this weekend, which I'll talk about later. But this is a little yarn stitch marker from a homespun house from Molly's Etsy shop. Not Etsy, it's her shop on the web. So yeah, this is coming along. I like this yarn. I had started a pair of socks with it, and then I just wasn't feeling the socks, so I ripped it out and decided I wanted a really colorful hat. And I like the hat, but I'm not as in love with it as I thought I would be, to be quite honest. So I might put this in like a pile to give as a gift someday, or I might keep it for myself. We'll just see. So I cast on 100 for this in the 2x2 ribbing, and then I increased some stitches to make it a little bigger. I didn't think 100 stitches was going to be generous enough for my head, and I was right. I increased 12 stitches till I got to 112. I used an online stitch calculator that I linked to in 2 episodes ago in the show notes about how to evenly space some increases. So yeah, this is coming along. I do love the colors. It's just not striping up quite as evenly as I would like. So, and really, these are the only 2 things I've been working on. I've got a few things here and there. I got to take out my Mama Vertebrae sweater that I showed you guys last week. I got to wear that out twice this weekend, and because it was finally cool enough that I needed a sweater. So I wore it to the movies Saturday night, and I wore it to a bar Sunday afternoon when Josh and I went and watched some football and had some bar snacks. And it was great because Sunday it was rainy and cold, and I got to wear my sweater, and I was kind of obnoxiously talking about it to Josh ad nauseum, and thankfully he put up with me because I kept saying, "Look at this sweater. Look at how nice it is. It's raining. I don't care. I've got a nice sweater on." I was a little obnoxious, I know. So God bless him. He was not, he did not mind. So he's a keeper. So scrolling through here, I have decided to abandon, I'm going to talk about my future knits right now because, you know, don't we all daydream about what we would like to knit next, even as we're knitting the things we really want to knit? Am I the only, I mean, I know, I've talked with my buddy Kate about this. I know she plans out her knits well in advance, and I don't go super far in advance, but I do like to think ahead to what I might like to knit next and just daydream. And I am really, really wanting to cast on a colorwork like ski Nordic hat, Fair Isle, something or other, be it a tam. Like I've been looking at the Peery Floors pattern from, it's a Scottish designer, and her first name is Kate, and I'm forgetting her last name. I'm sorry. And there's, oh wait, maybe I have it up on my phone. I don't have it up on my phone. But the other hat I'm looking at is, I thought I had it here. Let me see. Sorry, guys. Yes, here we go. Oops. I accidentally just click on the buy button. I think it's a sign it wants me to actually buy this. This is the Northport hat by Amy Miller. I hope that shows up okay. But isn't that gorgeous? I just really want to knit one of those right now. I really don't have the stash to knit a colorwork hat. I guess I could dig through my sock leftovers. That's probably what I should do. But I don't know if I have quite enough to knit the body of the hat in a single color. I'll have to see. I'll have to think about it. So I'm thinking about a colorwork hat, and I have abandoned plans to knit the Summertide Mystery Knit-Along shawl. I think it's beautiful, and I admire every shawl that I've seen that's knitting it, but I have just started casting on another shawl. So I won't show it to you right now because it's not much of anything, but I'll have that next week, I think. So I have plans for the purple and the pink yarn I showed you. I've been showing in every episode of what I really want to make. So we'll see. No tea for me today, just water. Though really, I probably do need some tea. It's 10 a.m. and I have to go to a 2-hour management training this afternoon when I start my day, and I think I'm going to need some caffeine to bolster me for that experience, so we'll see. So this brings me to the point where 4 months ago I would talk about spinning, because back then I was practicing my spinning a lot, so I had stuff to show you. And while I have been practicing my spinning, and I don't have very much to show you on the spindle that I've shown you before, I do have a new spindle, courtesy of my very generous mom. She went to a wool gathering, which is in Yellow Springs, Ohio, a few weeks ago, and she bought me an early Christmas present. So it came in the mail this week from her, and I am in love with this. This is I'll show you the card first. This is by the Rouge Lucette, and her website is here in the corner, and I'm warning you, it's straight out of 1992. I love it. And it really doesn't even talk about her spindles, which is kind of odd, but maybe I just didn't explore the website to its full extent. But it's a very early era website from the Rouge Lucette. But this spindle is stunning. I haven't taken any of the tape off. It's made from Jatoba Red Heart, and it's 1.5 ounces. And there's a notch on each side of the hook. So there's one. Can you see it? There's the one notch. And there's the other one. So it's really gorgeous, and I know exactly what I want to spin on it first, and it's just really gorgeous. I think the shape is so interesting, and I really love it. So thank you, Mom, for the lovely, lovely present. She also she was very generous and bought me a prize for a podcast knit-along. And prepare yourselves for the cute, you guys, because it's a stuffed alpaca. How stinking cute is this guy? This is from Douglas the Cuddle Toy, and she bought this from Woodsview Alpaca Farm. Pardon the price tag. That's very gauche of me to keep the price tag on here. Let's pretend you guys didn't see that. So it's machine washable, and his legs have like the plastic pellets in him. And I don't know why I decided it's a boy, but he is just the softest, squishiest alpaca. I'm going to be honest, Mom, when you mailed this to me, I was like, can we just pretend this was for me and I'm a child again? Because I desperately want this alpaca, but I'm going to give it, it'll be a prize for a giveaway at some point. So thank you, Mom, for the very generous podcast. Look at his little face. So stinking cute. I have to keep this away from Gracie because she will think this is a toy. She'll have it torn apart in no time. She's vicious. So, and he even stands up. Like, if I can set him on the laptop right here, he'll stand. How great is that? So, and he's got little hooves. You guys. So cute. So, that will be a prize for a knit-along sometime soon. You know, I'm really going to take some time this weekend and think about what I want the next knit-along to be. Because it's practically mid-October. The first week of October is gone now. But I don't know what I want the knit-along to be. I thought it was going to be a selfish knit-along. I was calling it in my head, I called it the bad influence knit-along because I want people to knit for themselves, even though it's the holidays. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna marinate on it, think about it a little longer, and hopefully next week I'll have some answers. But in the meantime, I'm gonna keep collecting prizes that come in because I like to give things to people. So we'll see what happens. So that brings us to yarns. And let's all ignore the fact that I said I wasn't buying yarn until SAF. Let's just get that out of the way right now. Pretend it didn't happen. It happened. I accept it. It moved on. Let's move on from my proclamation that I wasn't going to buy yarn. The first thing I have to show you is not something I bought, but that I won in a giveaway. Stephanie, aka Hot Pink Socks Reviews, had a giveaway for a yarn she reviewed on her blog, and I entered the contest and I won. And I'm not going to be one of those people that says, I never win anything, but I rarely do win. So this is Andy Pandy Crafts in a sock weight, 100% superwash merino. It's 100 grams, 400 yards, and the colorway is Flirt. And this is white and pink and purple and blue, and I believe this is multicolor, not self-striping, but it's really nice and squishy, and I just know this would make a most perfect baby sweater. So there is her Etsy shop, Andy Pandy Crafts. I just like to say Andy Pandy. So yes, very fun. So that is one acquisition. And then the other, so this has a story with it, of course. I was at Home Depot yesterday buying air filters because I live a very exciting life. So I bought my air filters for my HVAC unit, and I remembered that Melody Stitches asked me on the Knit Shift Ravelry board if I had been to Crochet Corners, which was a yarn shop in Norfolk, and I looked it up, and I looked it up and it was in the shopping center with Home Depot, so I thought, I'm just going to go over there and see if I see it. I'm someone who's not prone to just, like if I go to Target, I have a plan. Like, I don't just go to Target to kill time. I don't know why that is, but I'm just in and out, I get my stuff, and I'm just not good at browsing, and I'm not good at just stopping at a store for the heck of it. I think it's because my schedule is such that I have to be at work by 1:30 every day, so I don't just stop in a store for the heck of it. Whatever. I just plan out my life, I guess. Anyway, so I decide to be spontaneous and walk over from Home Depot to see what's down in the shopping center. And there's a nail salon and Weight Watchers and a hot dog shop, and then I get to Crochet Corners. So I go in, and it's a really nice shop, and it's in here in Norfolk on Military Highway, and they opened July 3rd, I believe the owner, Wanda, said, and so it's been 3 months. So it's a young shop, and it's really well lit. They've got a lot of good sunlight coming in, and they have a table in the front for classes, and they have a lot of Cascade yarns, and I saw some Rowan yarns as well. But yeah, it's just a nice shop, and it's a good resource to have. You know, I hope they do well. So I, of course, couldn't just go in there and not buy something. Because they had Cascade, I found the Cascade sock yarn selection because I love Cascade 150. This is the big honkin' skein of sock yarn. This is Cascade Heritage 150, 75/25 merino superwash wool, nylon, and I believe it is 550 yards? 492 yards, 450 meters. So this is the colorway Cerulean, aka 5637. But if you've never knit with this yarn before, it is a great value sock yarn. It is squishy and it's got a really good twist and it's super soft. I knit my brother a lot of socks out of this yarn because he has size 13 feet and this yardage goes very far. So yeah, I bought this yarn and I love it. I don't know what it'll be. Maybe it'll be a shawl. I just don't know. So that is it for my yarns today. And if you're new here, I just call it yarms because I'm weird, basically. So that brings us to odds and ends. And I just realized I didn't give you guys the whole rundown of my presence on the web in the episode. I'm on Instagram as Laura Mahalski. I'm on Ravelry as Yarnstormer, and I'm on Periscope as The Knit Shift. And I did my first Periscope a couple weeks ago. Try and do one again soon. And we have a Ravelry group for the podcast. So if you do a search for The Knit Shift, you'll find us. So, on to odds and ends. This was a busy week, like I said, with all the storm stuff. At the end of my week, on Saturday night, I went to see The Martian with Josh, and it's fantastic. I've not read the book by Andy Roth, but you don't need to read the book to enjoy the movie. It's fantastic. I really loved it. It's exciting, and I totally could go see it again. I enjoyed it that much. And that is where I knit on my sockhead hat. And it was such a good movie. Sometimes I had to put the hat down and just focus on the movie because I was so tense and I didn't know what was going to happen. So definitely go see it. 2 days ago, the weather has finally shifted, by the way. It's not 80, 90 degrees anymore, thank goodness. There goes the lamp falling over on my setup. 2 days ago, I took a walk, and I was by myself. I didn't have Gracie, and I was just taking a nice walk, nice speedy walk, get my heart rate up, all that good stuff. And I'm like 6 blocks from my apartment, and I trip and fall over my own feet. And I didn't break any bones, but I banged up my palm of my hand, which is thankfully healing up now. I got a huge brush burn on this knee, and really tore up my right knee. Like, it's a mess. Like, I've had to wrap it in bandages for the past 2 days. So I'm hoping it heals quickly, but it's right on my kneecap, and it's kind of tough to bend my knee right now. So I'm keeping it straight as much as possible till there's a scab. Sorry, that's gross, but I really messed it up, and it hurts a lot. So I have my foot out on the ottoman where the computer and all my stuff is. So yes, I've been hobbling around the past few days, which is no fun, but I'm hoping it's mostly recovered by Saturday because I have a wedding to go to. Hopefully I can not wear a Band-Aid and just have a gross knee, and that'll be that. But a friend of mine who used to live here in Norfolk, she returned home to the Pacific Northwest about a year or two ago, and she's coming back to get married. Her husband-to-be, her fiance, is from here in Norfolk, so they're getting married here. And the wedding is Saturday morning at a state park, and then Saturday night is the reception at this really cool event space near my office, so I'm really looking forward to that. That'll be really fun. What else did I have to talk to you guys about? I thought I brought out my lipstick to talk to you about, but I didn't, unfortunately. So it's Avon Red Tulip. But I don't know where I put it. It's lost in the yarn, I guess. Anyway, I think that's it for me this week. I hope you have a fantastic weekend and get to have a lot of knitting time. I'll talk to you soon. Bye!